end sender of email. So we send many millions of emails every day for a lot of customers all over the world. And the idea is to get inbox delivery.
Am I putting that on? Thanks very much.
No. Where does it even go? So we're not sending spam, obviously. We have very strict rules around that stuff, and this is part of the presentation and what constitutes that and what you should and shouldn't do. Our goal is to get emails into the inbox using a range of different techniques and even technologies and whatever we can to make that happen for people. I'm going to talk today a little bit about email marketing and strategies for email campaigns and for marketing and for deliverability. The three main things we're going to look at a little bit to start with is around just general engagement, call to actions, and variety. The things that we've noticed a lot, with all this, please bear in mind, I'm just drawing from what I've seen our customers do, the success they've had, the failures they've had, and how we've managed to try and bring it back around. So it might be a little bit jumbled, but it'll kind of make sense. We've had customers who send nice short emails that have got real simple premise. We see those get in a really nice engagement. Had customers send massive ones that don't really work at all because it's just too big. People don't read it. The engagement part of this is when you've got an engaged audience, you're obviously going to have improved deliverability because they are clicking and reading the email. The technical side of this part is if you have a look in your spam folder, you'll find legitimate emails that you've signed up for in there. And it's in there because you haven't been interacting with it. And your email software is looking at it and going, must be spam, you've never really looked at these, you just delete them or leave them unread. I know that because I've got a few of them from appliance stores that I've signed up for, and I pop in there occasionally and there's a whole lot of stuff and go, technically I did sign up for that, but I have never looked at them. Mainly just to get the $5 off voucher, as you do, which is a very good call to action, to be fair, to get me that $5 bonus. The variety part of it, slightly out of order, the variety part is around the idea of having a different approach to what your customers might do. So the variety being not doing exactly the same thing every week or however often you send, but varying it up a little bit. Things like articles are always good because that can be quite engaging. If you can get the right article for the right person, it can be absolutely perfect. Offers are always a good one. The discount, the $5 off, the whatever. And interactive elements, maybe a survey, maybe a quiz. Heck, the quiz could literally be, what's the answer to this question? And there's your call to action as they click the button and go, oh, I know the answer to that. Bing, bang, boom, you've got them. What is good to remember with this is that engagement rates are often not as high as everyone would like. We all love to give 100% read and click rate. It's very hard to get those stats perfect though. Open rates are nearly impossible to get correct when you look at any stats. Apple, for a start, have 50% of the market when it comes to email, and they do not allow much in the way of backwards and forwards communication on any email. So having a hidden pixel that does an open tracking often doesn't work. And click tracking can also be hit and miss because people like Microsoft will automatically follow links when they get the email, and that can look like a click. So we do actually do our best to fix that, mitigate that issue, so we don't track clicks within the first 5 seconds of an email being sent. That's a simple way because no one reads the email that fast. But even then, that means it's probably not 100% accurate. I was looking at a good stat for you people. Australia has the highest average open rates. It's an average, it's very high, and the click rates, but the average open rate was about 46%, it was the highest in the world, and the click rates at 2.35. So we've always heard of numbers like if you can get a 5 or 8% click, you're doing great, and you absolutely are if you are getting that. So that average is obviously from the worst to the absolute best and bring it into a terrible number. But 2.3% is not that bad. If you are spending, if every dollar you spend on marketing, Litmus says you get $36 back. So if you can get 2% out of your mailing list, you're probably doing okay. It's trickier in a smaller market like New Zealand, obviously, as opposed to having 1 million subscribers. That makes it real easy, but when you've only got 1,000 or less, that's quite hard. With the call to actions, it's definitely worth being direct and trying different things. You've probably heard of things like the split testing. You don't have to do that entirely. So if you don't know what it means or how to do it, all you're really doing is testing things from week to week and seeing what works better than the week before. So if you found that a specific, buy one, get one half price seems to work, then try something different and see if it doesn't work or if it works better, and try the discount instead, a different discount, and see what happens. And then you go, well, I got a 3% versus 1%, so I'm going to go back to doing it this way and modifying it from there. Same thing with subject lines in your emails. Definitely worth trying different things and avoiding some things as well. So for avoiding, avoid numbers and odd characters and all uppercase. It all looks very suspicious to a spam filter. Yes. And one other thing I was going to say is with call to actions, adding in a sense of urgency is always a good thing. The whole limited time offer. It does still work. It's definitely, Briscoe's can show you how that works as a marketing ploy. It's been working for 50 years, it hasn't changed at all. Okay. I think I've actually managed to talk a lot without actually going to the next page. So I was talking about the in-track developments, different articles, offers, and such. What's been interesting to see over the last, few years is how long you've got to get your subscribers' attention. And the reality is that is in the first few lines and the subject line. And it's been going down somewhat the last few years. I don't have new information, unfortunately. Litmus hasn't updated that data, and they're the best ones to seem to be able to get the data for us.
You can see a slight trend.
But you can see a trend, yeah. Absolutely trend. It's and I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure my attention span's a lot less than that. It's got to be pretty good to get you. So generally, it's the subject line that is the first thing they see. And if they can click on that, that's half the battle won. That's that 46% of open rates. If you can get that to happen, that's a lot of it done. Okay. Consistency. We're looking at building trust with a mailing list as well, because if they like what you've got, they will keep opening it. They'll keep engaging, and they'll hopefully buy, or they'll do something that you want. So the idea of consistency is you need to not have big gaps in between sending. You need to have a consistent schedule. You need to have a good, consistent quality of things. This is a lot of work, I'm well aware, but it's the only way to make it happen. There's nothing worse than getting an email one day from a company and then not hearing from them for 3 months, and suddenly you get another email. You go, who's that? I never signed up for this. And then you get angry unsubscribe going, I never did this, and they get irritable. One of the things that we actually have in our terms of service is you cannot use a mailing list if you haven't used it in the last 3 months. Because we go, that's what we call an old cold email list. That's how fast it goes out of date. So it's really important to keep it up to date. People abandon email addresses, inbox gets full, they just make a new one. Often they just dump a fake email address to where they put they're putting your email anyway. You kind of, keep it fresh, keep it clean, get rid of stuff that's not working. So in that case, the likes of emails that have bounced, you kind of get rid of them off your list. I'm doing very good at talking and not actually putting the screens up the text up to match. Basically, this comes down to consistency, helping build a strong community base. Someone might want to say a community, but I mean, it could be a bit of a pretentious statement or phrasing, but hopefully it's at least an engaged audience in some form. And it's also worth remembering that click-through rate, it's not going to be the same people every time. So, if you had 100 emails and 4 people went through, a different 4 might be next time, a different 4 the next time. It could actually be a good chunk of your mailing list over time is responding. It can be quite a slow process to do this. So I think it's important to remember, when you're starting out with a mailing list, you don't have anyone on it. How do you get people on? The last thing you want to do is rent or buy mailing lists or scrape data, because depending on where you are in the world, that's potentially not legal. So you've got to be kind of careful about how you get that data. So if you send something to somebody and they don't know who you are, that can be a problem. So it can be slow. But again, if you've got something people want, you can build on it. If you're selling a product or a service and they've seen your blog and they've signed up for updates, there you go. Or they've purchased, you've got information, you can roll with that. It just can take time. All right, something slightly more technical. I'm not entirely, like I said to some people beforehand, I'm not entirely sure of everyone's level, so I'm going to kind of do bits of things from the basics to oddly technical. It's really, really important to have what we call the authentication chain set up correctly. What I mean by this is if you are sending an email out, it needs to have some stuff in the background that is set so that the recipient can trust it. Can trust it's come from you, specifically you, not you pretending to be you. And that's very important. Now, these days, if you try to be you pretending to be you, that email will go almost 100% to spam. Spam filters are getting very good at picking it up. And it just comes down to these 3 things. If they aren't in line, the email will often just go straight into the spam folder. So services like ours come in quite handy because we take care of most of that for you. The reality is, so the DKIM part is a signature, like a digital signature that you can create, like a classic key pair where you've got a key, I've got a key, and we can do a quick mathematical calculation. If it comes back with the correct answer, must be right. It's designed to break if an email is resent. So if someone tries to copy that and pretending like they're you, it will fail. It will fail the next authentication step. If someone tries again, I mean. The SPF is a much simpler one. It's just to prove that I have permission to send email on your behalf. So if you're using MailChimp or whoever else, that they want to use your domain, they can't just send it without some proof that they are allowed to send on your behalf. So the SPF, or the Sender Policy Framework, is designed to make sure that they have that permission. And if you're having difficulty with these concepts, don't stress too much. Again, most of the time, if you're using a service, they will have that stuff somewhere and it'll help you figure it out. And it'll often be quite an easy thing. For us, we get you to input a couple of entries into your DNS, another acronym. It's where you, it's just basically a little pointer that points to us, our website, and says, hey, look, this is all true and correct. Those things also, whatever your service you're using, they generally have setup guides to take you through step by step. So it's a lot less scary than it looks. Just go slow and get help if you need it. It was actually the very last point. The next important thing is IP address and domain name reputation. It's quite easy to get yourself on a blacklist or on a block list or the start type of list. And there's so many reasons how that could happen. So if you're a small sender and you've got an IP address of your own, the IP address itself will be called cold. And if it's a cold email address, it won't have much trust. And its reputation score will be low. And you're looking for a 95% to 100% reputation score. And if it's a cold IP address, it's going to be none. And when it's none or cold, it does not get high priority in inboxes and spam filters. They tend to ignore it. Domain reputation is, have you sent something dodgy in the past that someone's actually hit the spam button on? Or have you sent it to a rented or purchased email list? it's actually very easy to tell if it has been done. So be very careful. Don't do that if you can help it. What generally happens is they have a whole lot of honeypot email addresses. If you send one of those, it gets triggered and it goes, everything from that domain name is probably suspicious because you're probably sending unsolicited email. So this is, again, going back to being real consistent and building your own mailing list over time and being very careful with it. It's like it's literal asset, a business asset, essentially. Services like ours, again, I'm not trying to advertise, by the way, I'm just going to let you know what we and other email service providers do. So whatever you're using will do the same, similar things. The IP reputation. So how we deal with that. If you're a small sender, we'll group you with similar senders, and together you'll have enough volume to make an IP address stay at a nice high level of emails being sent, and it will get the reputation level nice and a good level. The websites such as senderscore.com is a great place to check for your IP address for what you're sending from. And if it's anything under 95%, you should probably be questioning it. It's not bad, but you want to make sure it doesn't get worse. Always keep things nice and clean. Domain reputation, it's unlikely with a group like this, but if you purchase a domain name at auction, maybe it comes with some baggage. You've only got to wait a few months for it to kind of disappear. The internet does forget some things eventually, but just worth bearing it in mind. You can check those on, if you go to MX Toolbox, you can use a blacklist check for domain names and IP addresses, and they'll give you a clue if there's any past history. There you go. A nice high reputation score, or should mean trustworthy emails. Generally what this actually means is emails go to the inbox as opposed to a spam filter. There is a difference here, of course, between emails going into, say, a Gmail promotional tab. That's a little bit harder to manage because there's a reality that their algorithms are literally saying, you're definitely from a store that's going to go in the promotional tab. There's not a lot you can technically do about it. It is quite easy to tell if an email is marketing versus a transactional. And I assume you know what transactional means, but this is like email that I sent to you directly and you sent back to me, as opposed to one I sent to all of you. Yeah, something like that. If you have any questions, please just interrupt or we'll talk later.
Just a quick one thing as you offer that. So Outlook has a focus box versus everything else, or important versus everything else. I mean Gmail has that too, but is that purely just down to what you've interacted with as to what's going to? Yeah,
that's something that you can't really control.
You got no control.
Not real control. So that's more along the lines of what Microsoft and Google decide on how to label that. There's a certain reality though. If you're sending a marketing email, it's probably going to go into marketing list. That's the reality. Ideally, you get to the point where you're chatting one-on-one to be even better, but that's a tough call. Yeah, there's a limit. I did miss DMARC. DMARC is basically a feedback system where if you've got DKIM or SPF going correctly, DMARC will be happy and it will just check it and feedback information to the webmaster, so the email host, to say that this email is good or bad, and give them a reason to reject it. If the DMARC DMARC and SPF are not working correctly, it'll decide what to do with it, which is likely going to be a bounce. Not too much of a big deal for email senders. It's more for recipients, but you need to have the DKIM and SPF correct. Or actually just one of them is enough to make DMARC happy, but they've got to be, ideally they should be both. So places like us and MailChimp and whoever else, they will have the DKIM SPF set up correctly, so you won't have to worry about that DMARC failing.
So one more follow-up question, which was similar on this focus box versus other. If they've interacted, like you've gone and asked them to verify their email address, you've sent them an email, and then they've click the link on that email, is that then far more likely that the next email that comes from you will turn up in their focus box, right? Yes,
absolutely. Right. I don't honestly know how that would work long term, because again, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I'm thinking back to my no leaming emails I keep seeing in the spam folder. You know, I used to see them up the front when I first did an order, I don't know how many years ago, and they just eventually fade with a lack of interaction. It really comes down to that subject line, to be fair. If you nail that subject line, you'll get the read you want.
I saw a few things like not encouraging replies and not having links. Are those zero links in that email encouraging you to reply back to you for whatever reason?
What, to reply instead of click a link? Is that what you're saying?
No links. Yeah, just no links anyway because I guess as a strategy and also trying to encourage people to reply back to your emails as a way to
True. That makes me wonder if there's a different problem going on there, because it's not in here, but I'll throw it out there because it's a useful technical one. Links in emails are a problem because they need to line up with your domain name that's sending the email. So if you put in there a link from even just to Google, it doesn't match your sending domain. It will look slightly suspicious. And if it's going anywhere else, like even a URL shortener, it gets just as suspicious. If it's not HTTPS, it's even more suspicious. So these things can be problematic. Services, again, like us, there's a tick box you can tick, we'll generate a SSL certificate for you, and we'll rewrite all the links, make them matchy all over the place. And that will actually help.
But what about, having no links in your emails? Is that the only way?
The problem with that, it's not a bad thing, but it's more of a transactional email to me, by the sounds of it. Because there's no way to know if it's successful at all. And we talked about how open rates are hard to really calculate. The best you can really do is a click rate, because you can check that when back at your website. Yeah.
Well, I guess the argument is that your success metric now is how many replies you get, not
Yep.
whether that rate or clicks you're worrying about.
Yeah. Honestly, that sounds great for a small mailing list. But once you hit a couple hundred, I'd struggle. You need a good team or AI to kind of solve that one. The planning part is around what we talked about earlier, around experimenting with subject lines and content and send times. The send times one is, I'm not quite sure what you guys would think, but is there a time that you like to send email or you like to receive it? Do you know when you read your emails?
Work.
Exactly. So 11 a.m. is the time in Australia that it gets picked up. So I don't know if they are lumping us into that one particularly, but we'll just roll with the Australian data because there's more of them there. So they'll give us a bit of a clue. Around 11 a.m. in Australia and 10 a.m. for most of the rest of the world, they seem to like it. So that's early, it's coffee time basically. Don't really want to jump into their work schedule just yet. We'll just use this time to scroll through that stuff. Earlier I talked about go.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on AI optimized send time? Because platforms like MailChimp, Klaviyo, they do kind of allow you, they will provide an option to do optimized sending. Basically, they will send to users based on what they prefer, based on historical data. What are your thoughts on that?
That sounds absolutely fantastic because it's nearly impossible to do that without something like AI to help you out figuring that stuff out. The thing is, if we're all sitting at 11 a.m., there's a lot of email appearing in the morning, and it's not necessarily helpful at all. Yep. I would possibly argue 2 p.m. is a good time to send because, I'm about to have my coffee and I'm running out of steam. Here's a good opportunity to pretend like I'm working and go through a few of those things. So I would actually be right on board with that if they have if they've got the good data to go with it, and it's not just another AI marketing thing. So you want to do a little bit of research into how accurate it is, see if there's some reviews out there to match, because the idea sounds great. Just do worry about the implementation a little bit. What is useful is, with that though, at the same time, is if you're sending to a global audience, it's even harder to get, because if I hit send this morning at 10 a.m. to try and get it to go, or even if I schedule send for 10 a.m., that's not great in the States or Europe. That's 10 p.m. It's unhelpful. No, yeah. Hope that helps. Refining strategy, experimenting, keeping what works, discard what doesn't. This is where I'm saying you don't have to do anything special. Like if you don't have the time or don't understand how to do split testing, That's where you do 2 different versions of something to half of your list each. You can just kind of refine it over time. You're in no great hurry in a way. You've got to be patient anyway. You're going to try and figure this out over time. You're not going to have super success the very first time, and there's a good chance some of the emails are going to just not work at all either. So you're going to have to, play a little bit. One of the really important things we've had is learning to let go. It's a really important thing. You've got to say goodbye to some people, and you've got to let them go. We had a customer, we still have that customer, to be fair. We do, who, when he got it unsubscribed, he actually called them and asked them why they had unsubscribed. And we were like, please don't do that. I don't know why he told us he did this, but he did, and we were all like, oh my God. I get it. It's technically a business asset, isn't it? It's worth money, and to lose that person. But the reality is, you're now wasting money sending email to that person. And while it might be a fraction of a cent for that one person, that can add up over time, because it's every month or several times, and it's waste. It's a waste. You're better off just to say goodbye, leave on pleasant terms, and hope they come back. It's always worth focusing on the ones that are actually interested and not wasting time on the ones that are not. I think it just feels like it's common sense, but there's a certain reality. It feels disheartening to lose people as well. That's probably the reason. It's like, it almost feels personal. I've worked really hard on this, and people are saying no. It's not a nice feeling, but it is what it is, so move on. So the last thing is kind of, I've alluded to this all the way through, which is just, if you're not really sure, get help. There's people out there that can answer the question. There's plenty of AIs that have the same answer, no doubt, because they're finding on the websites that we're all writing this stuff on. The reality is, sometimes it's about going, hey, this is what I'm sending. It's not really working. What can we do about it? And we'll point you to places like, what's it called? I'll figure it out in a minute. To websites that are really good at grading your email. Or in our system, you can actually use Litmus to do email testing. So you can pop your email in and say, hey, what's it going to look like in all these different browsers? So you can at least see what it looks like and what sort of score it might get. It's kind of worth getting those help if you're finding it's just not getting those numbers you want. We talked earlier about the whole wanting a nice click-through rate, and the average is saying it's 2.45%. And honestly, you can probably get better in New Zealand with a small mailing list. If it's that engaged list, we regularly see people with 5 to 8, sometimes higher. But don't be discouraged if it's as low as 2%, because apparently that's the average. So it's kind of like, don't worry too much. Focus on the ones that are responding. You know who it is. What is it about that group that liked it, and what can you do to foster it some more? So, and it really comes down to is building trust building trust with your audience, fostering that engagement, being consistent, but also having variety. Consistency in that case, just a quick reminder, I do mean consistently with sending schedules, consistency with the quality of your content, and on offerings, basically, and get the technology right. So that's the harder stuff, and the DNS, CSPF records, the DKIM, etc. And be patient. It is not easy. I do remember my early days here, some customer came onto the website and started to chat, and they got very frustrated with us because we wouldn't let them use a purchase mailing list. And they're like, well, how do I get one? And I'm like, it's a really good question. It sounds really hard to just suddenly get one. How do you get them to come to your website to even sign up? And it does take time. If you're starting from fresh, blog posts are great. Your social interaction, talk to this guy. He knows about that too. These guys know all about that. It's about finding a way to get those people to come to you. And to want what you've got. So that's it. That's my email address. If you want to clarify anything, feel free to message me. I don't bite. well, in public, and we have, and I'm happy to answer questions. I don't intend to sell to anybody, by the way, so you can just ask. I don't care what platform you're using. If I can help, great. If I can't, so be it. But we've got tons of information we can give. Even the website, the blog articles, there's a ton of good things in there and useful stuff. Even just to explain some of those technology bits that I've been talking about that sound a bit confusing. Other than that, are there any questions or anything you'd like a little bit more information on? Of course, yes.
Yeah, just thinking, have you ever seen any issues with deliverability if you're sending emails from, say, like a CRM, like Monday.com or Go High Level, or because I know with like Go High Level, for example, you can do phone calls through there, but they usually show up as potential spam and hardly ever get through. So I was wondering if there was any correlation you've seen with emails as well through those or anything like that.
Yeah, so the problem often comes in, it reminds me of Xero. In the early days of Xero, you could change the sending for your invoices to your actual domain name. And you could choose the SMTP server and stuff. And then they stopped all that. And then it became invoice at go0. or something, go.0.com. And everyone suddenly had sending up that level. The issue comes down to the SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. And if Monday.com or whatever you're using your domain name, they need to have permission to send from it properly, otherwise it goes to the spam folder. And that's the problem with a lot of those things. The people don't get that right. They don't realize what they've got to do. They just whack in the Google SMTP servers and it will send a terrible email without being properly authenticated all the way across or do something not quite right. And I think that's probably the issue around that one. So, and ideally, places like Monday.com will get a fairly good delivery rate because they're well known for a start with, and spam filters know that it's probably legitimate and it's going to be transactional for the most part, not always, but it should be okay. But ideally, you want your own branding where possible. That's the tricky bit. I do know Monday.com does let you do that though, so I'm pretty sure you can brand it yourself.
Yeah, I think so.
We talked to them not long ago about that, so I'm pretty sure they can. Hopefully forever. So yes and no. I think it's answered that question.
That's good context. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's all good. Cool. Excellent. Oh, another one.
Are there certain top-level domain names that are good or bad?
So say that again?
Are there certain top-level?
Oh, yeah. Don't do .xyz or .to. What's the other one, TK? the known spam ones. It's like, there's certain things you just don't want to do. So .xyz is well known for spam because I think you can get a refund after 5 days. So you can buy it, spam it, get a refund, no cost or low cost. And then there's another horrible thing.
No way to get it right. Like, say you've got a TLD that's not .com or .org. There's no way to get it right.
Oh yeah, of course there is. So your .online's fine. There's plenty of them out there that are absolutely fine. It's just that there's some ones that have been absolutely hijacked, and it's worth checking some of them to see if they're right. Yeah, I can't even think of some of them right now for some reason. This always happens, but there's plenty of good ones out there. .online is fine. .shop is fine. .kiwi, all those ones are generally okay. You will probably find that some services out there might have difficulty allowing those to be used to start with, so you might have to ask them as well. I know that we are suspicious, and I know that's because we send a lot of email and we're very picky with our customers. So we literally deny probably more than we actually allow because we don't want spammers on our system. And so we're very suspicious of those new domain names that come up, not because they are inherently bad, they're untested. And so we don't have much data to actually back up whether it's being used by the right actors as opposed to the ones that we just do not want to see ever again. And we don't want to send out to you. I hope that kind of answers that. It might be pretty vague. Yes?
I know email is your thing, but is email delivery still the right approach in modern society to pick up customers? Is it still the best way to pick up? Is it spending the money on doing emails right? Is that still the best way to pick up customers? Is that to do with the complexity of your product, or is it to do with sort of engagement from the audience that you have?
Yes, actually it is, and I have a stat to back this up. I was looking at just trying to think at what are useful stats for you guys, and I found this really useful one. Okay, demographic insights. Yes. So, surprisingly, among working adults, 16 to 24-year-olds are the most likely to be using email. So yes, your next market coming through is already there. And they are using it. It's working, so it'll be at work, not necessarily at home. And yeah, it's the more likely to be used, even more than their millennial counterparts. So it's like the older we get, the less engaged we seem to want to be in with email. So there is still a market there for sure. It's also one of the easiest ways to get out to people because, again, almost everyone gets an email address at some point. If it's not it's usually their first job. You get an email address, even if you haven't had one before. It's a good start. And we all want that B2B business anyway, so that's ideally the right one. Hope that kind of covers a little bit of that. I think yes. Also, looking at the numbers of an increased number of emails that have been sent, it was 250 billion in 2022. And it's estimated to be over 350 billion this year of emails sent for the 4.7 billion email addresses out there. It's a lot. Admittedly, you've got to scale that down to New Zealand if New Zealand is your audience, and that's quite a different number. I don't know what that number is, but obviously it's a small percentage. Hey, aim for global anyway. Sorry, go for it.
Thanks for the talk. I just had a question. I don't know if it's on the more technical side of the DKIM and the DMARC. So you know in the Gmail inbox, if you get emails from brands, some of them have their company logo as the little circle instead of like the letter S for SMTP.
Yep.
Is that part of the DKIM, DMARC? How do you get that logo?
No, well, it's called BIMI, B-I-M-I, and it's basically just an encoded version of your logo or an icon, and you do insert it into your DNS settings so that it literally gets loaded. It can be used as a security thing, but it's not taken off in that way, so it's not currently something that is taken into account much. Maybe one day, but it looks great too, though. I think it looks fantastic. It's really cool to see it.
Just for brand recognition.
100%. And it makes you stand out, particularly in Gmail. Yeah. Not everyone does it. Gmail is the most obvious one, but it's still worth it.
So that's BIMI. And if you're using like an email service provider like ActiveCampaign or MailChimp, do they have that capability, or do you have to do something on the back end?
It's just a back end thing you can do yourself without them.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need them at all. So there's BIMI generators out there. You can just type in or upload your image or whatever, and that will convert it into however it does. I saw one the other day. I should have got it out for you, but I didn't know you were going to ask that question. But no, let's do that.
Not where you have to have a trademark logo.
Yeah, it is. So there's a bit more. There's a little bit more information there. Yeah, but that's not too hard. It's not too hard in New Zealand though.
It seemed like a number of steps were involved, and if your logo is not very unique, can be easily picked up as a not
Fair enough. Yeah. All good. You again.
So I used to work for a business with quite a big group of customers with the extra.co.nz email domains.
Which domain, sorry?
Extra.
Yeah.
The Spark ones.
Yeah.
Now, I think, I could be wrong, but I think they're known to have really strict filters.
Mm-hmm. They
so
do.
No matter what you send to that email domain, it will go into spam regardless.
Mm-hmm.
What are the options one can we do as businesses to reach those customers?
I talked to the people that run that, so it wasn't run by Extra for a while, and they don't even seem to know it's happening because it was like talking to a brick wall. They're like, no, those emails are definitely getting through. I'm like, I don't know. The reality is those users aren't necessarily, a lot of users still using that. Is that a high number of customers?
It's not a
No.
grand scheme of things, but we definitely know that some high value customers are in there and we want to reach those.
Yeah, so you're going to have to literally talk to them in some other way and say, please add me to an allow list or an address book or something else. That is commonly way around it. So if we have an issue with, say, sending an email to Hotmail, is a good example too, and it goes to the spam folder automatically, what you can do is you can train it. You can do it yourself. You can just send it to yourself, and if it goes spam, just tell it this is not spam, and start training it saying it's not spam. It'll filter across to the whole world eventually, but you also add it to the contact list, and it starts being less and less of an issue. Otherwise, that's really hard because what was it, SMX Mail that runs it? They runs Extra Mail, or they did. I'm not sure if they still do now. Very strict, unnecessarily so, to the point of there's not a huge amount you can do apart from literally talk to them in some other way and say, hey, please do it this way. Yeah.
Good to know, thanks.
Yeah, tough one. Awesome.
Do we need to let you go?
Yes, please.
Thanks very much, Lucas. Much appreciated your time. I know you need to duck off at 6, so yeah. And sorry to those who tuned on a little bit later. I hadn't had a chance to let you know we would be starting to talk a little bit.
Apologies, but if you've got my email address, I'll send you whatever you want to know, and feel free to flick me an email. Just let me know where it was from so I get some context, otherwise I get like, who are you people? And why are you talking? Or I put it in my spam folder because it's technically unsolicited email, isn't it? So, so that's the way it goes. All right.
That's awesome, man. Thank you very much for